Welcome to Friends Church. My name is Vince. I started last week by telling you my screw up, because I like to start off by screwing up. It's always a good way to start a message. I come home after a long day, after a long week. I open the door, and my wife, just brace yourself for a minute. She's putting cream on her tattoo. Stinky cream. Cream that is specifically designed to drive me frickin' batty. In fact, I probably think she knew I was coming home. She did it just to screw up my mind and make me angry, right? This is the part where I go, yeah, Vince, yeah, totally that's what happened. So remember, window of tolerance? How much you can handle before you flip your lid? I flipped. It was this moment, I remember being like, I gotta go. And then I just ran into the bedroom, closed the door and locked it, and just sat there for an hour. Fully like. Now I know you're thinking, what's the big deal? I have a thing with smells, it's just my thing. If I'm not taking good care of myself, smells drive me batty. So I'm sitting in the room, the bedroom, door locked. My wife's out there. Like, I know what to do. You walk in, hey, babe, good to see you. Big hug. Hey, tell me about your day. Let's get connected. I can't even. I'm literally sitting in a chair, like, looking at my computer, going, why do I do this? Why, when I'm freaking out, do I just need to be alone? I love this woman. She's my wife. There's nothing scary about her. And I'm hiding from her in the bedroom. This is the part where I'd ask you to raise your hand if you're a fellow hider, but don't, please don't. But you know that feeling? It's usually after you've done something and you're sitting there going, why do I do it? You know, it's your kids, the person you love the most in the world, and you just yelled at them and you're going, why did I do that? Why did my family drive me so bananas? Why do I keep going back to the same argument over and over again? I know where it's going to get me. Nowhere. Oh, there I am, right back, having the same conversation with that same person. Funny, it didn't work good again. I've tried it 1,000 times. 1,001 didn't work. That's strange. What's your thing? When you flip your lid, what's your go-to? What's the thing that when you kind of snap back in, like, oh, I did that again, didn't I? Why? Why is it that we do these things? Why is it we do the same thing every time? To understand that, we actually have to go back very early. You see, this whole series is actually designed from a line from Jesus. He says, if I'm going to think about how I see spirituality, I have two pillars. One pillar is love your neighbor. We sat with that for a while. Kind of an easy thing to say, right? You should just love that person better. Okay, well, what does that even mean? Like tough love, turn the other cheek love? Like, what are we dealing with here? Jesus doesn't say anything more. So if we say that spirituality should be inspired by this question of love your neighbor, and I'm hiding in the bedroom from the woman I love the most, what do I do? Last week we talked about increasing our window of tolerance. Okay, so full disclosure, I'd had a busy week. I hadn't done my breathing exercises all week. I was right cranked. Like, she could have done anything and I probably would have flipped my lid. That's on me. What I want to talk about is, how do we skillfully love people who flip their lid like I do? How do we make it better, not worse? To understand it, you have to understand babies. We have the newest member of Friend Church joining me on stage today. His name is Rory. His mom, Carly, makes very, very beautiful babies. So I asked her to come up on stage so we had a visual of what we're dealing with. Look at that. Oh, buddy. If he starts crying, I might start crying. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. How's he doing?
He's good.
Did he like the music today?
He did like
Nice. You see, humans are part of mammals, and one of the problems with the group of mammals we're part of, the babies are born, I was going to say not very functional, but what I mean to say is like that. They need mommy very much. He can't even hold himself up at this point, can he? So, here's the thing. As she holds him, you can tell he is just snuggled in, right? Like he is home. There's something in his nervous system that knows without her, his life is at risk. This isn't a small thing. This is wired in. Psychology told us, or named it attachment. The attachment between the child and the mother isn't just like, oh, that's nice to have. Wouldn't that be great? You know, my mom was great. That was nice. No. Without her, without the primary caregiver, his life is at risk. And somehow in his little brain, he knows that more than anything. He knows that deeper than we understand. He knows that in his DNA. This is home. This is safe. What happens when you put him down and walk away? How does he handle that?
They'll usually start crying.
See, that's the thing. When you put a small child in a life-threatening position and they can't talk, they can't articulate their feelings, he's got one option. He cries. That's normal. When your primary attachment person leaves, when your life is at risk, the right answer is you cry. Thank you. He's so cute. I rarely want to touch children, but that one I actually want to hold, but we'll let that go. Thanks, Carly. Thanks, Rory. You have to understand that right there is in each and every one of us. This feeling that if our primary caregiver goes away, we could die. And the answer to that is when mom or dad leaves, whoever the primary caregiver is, when they leave, your life is at risk. John Belby started studying kids a little older than that, but here's what he noticed. Most kids, you know, I said kids cry, that's what you're supposed to do? Most kids cry. What he noticed, though, is some kids, and he was studying a time when there's a lot of orphanages in England. He noticed that when the caregivers left, some kids cried. That was fine. Come back in, mom comes back in, or dad comes back in, calms them right down, fine. Called that secure, it's like securely attached. The attachment system is working, and they know how to work with it. There's another group, we call them anxiously attached. When the primary caregiver leaves, they start crying. When the primary caregiver comes back and calms them down, they're like, oh, screw you. You left, you SOB. But the group I want to talk about today, mom leaves. The baby doesn't cry. Bobby looked at that and thought, what in the world? A little baby like that. Mom leaves, baby's silent. It's like they don't even realize your life is at risk here. A couple years later, they did a bunch of tests to find out maybe these kids maybe they didn't feel stress at parent leaving. So they stuck a bunch of probes in the kids. No, kids are freaked out. Their cortisol levels are through the roof. But they don't look like it. If you go online and you look up strange experiments, I was going to do that, but it's like you torture kids. I didn't think you guys would appreciate me torturing kids in front of y'all. But essentially what they do is they deliberately take the primary caregiver away from the child and see what happens. When you watch the kids, some groups just continue to play. It's like they didn't even notice mom was there. They don't notice mom's gone. When mom comes back in, they didn't even notice that. Bowlby said, it's like they are avoiding their attachment system. It's still there. It's still firing. It's still freaking out. But somehow, these kids learned to turn it off, to suppress it. They became self-sufficient. I don't need mom anymore. And you think, that's nice. Rory, look, as cute as a bug's ear, whatever. Stan Tatkin comes along 20 years ago and goes, wait a second. What happened with children, the attachment and how we're attached, actually continues in us to adults. This is why we call this series Relationship. Sorry, earmuffs on Rory, please. Relationship. It's the shit that was from your childhood living inside of you today. Some of us are still not crying. Some of us are focused so much on suppressing our attachment system that we don't even need anybody. Our faces are blank. Our bodies are standoffish. It's still in us today. The problem is not our attachment. That's not the issue. The issue is we live not realizing what's going on. The world around us lives without realizing what's going on inside of us. I would say a very large chunk of my divorce, my part of my divorce, was this. I could not let someone get close to me. It felt too threatening. And so, I was doing a wedding a couple years ago. Beautiful couple. Bryce, can you come up for me? Beautiful couple. And we're doing the rehearsal section. It's kind of where we figure out how to block the whole thing, everyone's going to say. Bryce is going to play the bride today. So, bride, groom, they're in the moment where I'm sitting over here and I'm like, okay, so how are we going to do the vows? And she's going like, oh, these vows, like literally, this is the juice. This whole thing is for these vows. I want him to like look in my eyes and promise his love to me. And she's just like, you can just see it off her. And so, this is hers, right? She's like, you got to feel like you're the bride, I'm groom. Scene, there we go. Okay, so literally, this is what it is. I'm standing over there and we're like, okay, how are we gonna do it? She's like, I want him to hold both my hands. It's like this.
That feels opposite. Is that a gender thing?
I don't know. And this is what happens. Also, he goes like this. Doesn't fart. He starts making fart jokes. How you feeling right now, baby? Not good, huh? This is not good. Okay, well, I'm over here and I'm looking at him going, did you just make a fart joke? In the moment, the most important moment with your bride here, you decided to make fart jokes. And he's like, his face is blank and he's kind of shaking and he's like, I said, you know why you just made a fart joke? He's like, I don't know. She, not happy. Not happy at all. Anyone figure out what the problem is? He described it this way. Her big blue eyes was boring a hole in my soul. This feels like attachment. You'll notice when Carly, when she's breastfeeding, she'll hold her baby like this, and they will look into each other's eyes. It's the attachment system. This is the attachment system. His avoidance of the attachment system is freaking out. She is way too close to me. This is way too intense. I can't deal with this. I gotta. So he cracks a fart joke as a way to try and like create some space in between them. The woman he loves. It took.
You get Kyla.
You're better. You're so much better. Sorry, Kyla, no disrespect, but so much better. So I'm sitting there, and it's taken me a while to figure out, like, wait a second, what is going on here? He clearly loves her. Like, oh, he was one of the babies that didn't cry. As soon as I realized that, I was like, oh, I know what to do. I said, okay, here's what you're going to do. So this, fart jokes. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to hold one hand, and we're going to turn our bodies out like this. Still looked in her eyes. All of a sudden, he told her all the beautiful things that he felt in his heart for her. And she was like, that's what I wanted. But it took us deactivating his attachment system to do it. Do you see the difference? This? That even freaks me out. Thank you. Appreciate it. Just give Bryce a round of applause. When you are one of those groups that's avoidantly attached, closeness is tricky. Having someone physically close to you, it's going to activate your nervous system. That thing that you did as a baby, the stress measurements that we measured, oh, they're through the roof. And someone being that close activates all of that, and you're frantically trying to stuff it down and get rid of it and trying to disconnect from it. That's why we don't hug very much. That's why we don't express very much. That's why we don't like people getting too close to us. Our relationship, the stuff inside of us, says people are not safe. People feel like vampires. That's like the avoidant theme song right there. The world is a vampire. You see, this is how it works. You know that whole relationship model that we talk about, I, they, we? Just throw it up when you have a second, Fran. It's this idea that says there's us and there's the people in our lives. At first level, it's I against them. But then we figure out this way to have this win-win-we section. It starts to get beautiful. This is where we deal with love. But the avoidant brain doesn't think that that's what's going on. The avoidant says, if they show up, they are going to suck me dry. This is very important. When I drive my car, you could already guess I'm pretty avoidant. When I drive the car of my life, drive down my life, in the back seat is this little avoidant Vince. He's about 4, and he's constantly freaking out at me. Don't, they're just going to suck you dry. You can't, don't give. No, get by yourself. It's the only way to be safe. Because there is no we in our brains. We sucks us dry. And so we have to be alone. Thanks, friend. We have to be by ourselves. This is how you can tell the difference between an introvert and an avoidant attached person. An introvert wants to be in small groups. I love small groups, right? 1-on-1, 1-on-2, beautiful. If you need to be by yourself, it's not introversion. It's avoidant attachment. It says the only way I can take care of me is when no one's around, because the world's a vampire. We use what's called self-soothing. It's how those little babies turned off the crying. You calm yourself. You can't do it when people are too close to you, when their blue eyes are boring a hole in your soul. You can't do it then. You need space. We are like Olympic level self-soothers though. Like we're so good at it. This is also why when someone comes to us with a lot of emotion, our reaction is, how about you go take care of that and then come talk to me? That feeling stuff. We think since we're so good at self-soothing, shouldn't the world also be soothing themselves? Because when you put that on me, now it's again that whole problem where the world is a vampire. Now I have to soothe you too. I already have enough problems soothing myself. Jeez. You see, there's two skills you need to learn to be healthy in relationships. One is self-soothing. Jeff will talk about the next group next week. Self-soothing is tricky for that group. The other side is relational soothing. Can you throw up the line for me, Fran? Letting someone else carry part of our burden. Our coping strategy, the way we handled our childhood, over-relied on self-soothing. And we never learned how to relationally soothe. And now we're stuck. The entire world wants to suck us dry because we never learned to do this. You want to know the antidote to this? For us who are avoidant, there's nothing wrong with us. We just over-rely on a coping strategy. We over-rely on self-soothing. We try and think everyone else should self-soothe too. If everyone self-soothed, the world would be a better place, wouldn't it? Amen. The thing we have to learn is how to relationally soothe. I'll tell you how it works. For those of you who are avoidant, if you can your mouth a little bit, I understand. It's disgusting what we're going to talk about right now. You have to ask people for what you need. You see, for those of you who aren't avoidant, this is what's going on in our brains. The world is a vampire. No one cares about my needs. So of course I'm not going to ask for them. I'll take care of them myself. And then we don't ask for something, then we don't ask for something more, then we don't ask for something more. And then we get so worked up that we're finally ready to ask for something, but we are like on the edge of flipping our lid, like we're right frickin' there. Can you make me dinner? And if there's a pause, if there's a sniff, if there's an eye batted, oh, I knew it. I can't believe it. I knew you weren't going to do anything for me. No one ever does anything for me. We just self-soothe. The whole world, we know the world's a vampire, right? That's what's in our head. We know that's what's going on. Therefore, the second someone hesitates, the second someone says, hey, I think maybe. No. You just want to suck me dry. I get it. I'll take care of myself. The skill is not only to ask. The skill is to ask and hold the ask. Hey, babe, could you make me dinner? Actually, I have a bit of a busy day. Oh, really? What's going on? Oh, I just have a few things going on, blah, 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 blah. Could we make dinner at 8? Yeah, sure, that would work. See how you hold the pedal down? Hey, can we do this together? No. Oh, what's going on? Okay, freaking out, la, 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 emotions. Got it. And back to, hey, my question's still on the table. Can we figure that out? That's what relational soothing is. It's assuming the other person will come and carry part of the load. It's holding on to the ask because your ask is important and the world is not a vampire. What have you not been asking for? How many times have you asked when you're completely on the edge of flipping your lid? And the second they don't give it to you exactly the way you want, you're like, I knew it. The world is a vampire. Everything wants to suck me dry. My only option is to take care of myself. Do you see how asking is the counter to that? It says, no, 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 no. I matter. My needs matter. The we is a balance of you and me. We just never learned how to do it. It's never good when a musician starts to leave. Dave, we okay? Okay. So, folks, how do we handle him? For those of you who are feeling some resonance with this, you can feel yourself locked in. You can feel yourself pulling away. You can feel yourself taking care of yourself. You can feel that feeling of the world isn't here to take care of me. It's here to suck me dry. I just want you to know, I get it. And it's okay. That coping strategy worked for a very long time, and you needed it. The question we ask today is, do we need it now? Is it still the strategy we need now? For those of you who love people who are avoidantly attached, here's a song by an avoidant person that speaks to this. Wow, what a perfect song. I live my life in the customer service line. It's those ones that are a little too close, you're like, ouch. Robots need love too. If you have someone in your life who's avoidant, chances are they'll have a fairly flat affect. Their face won't have a lot of emotions. They will hug like crap. They'll say, I'm fine. How you doing? I'm fine. How's life? Fine. You see, that couple, we figured out fairly quickly that hand-to-hand, not going to work. If we rolled them out a little bit, worked better. What would you have felt if you were the bride in that moment? I'd have been pissed. I still remember, it was in the library. She's standing there, and all of a sudden she kind of goes like this. You know, that makes a lot of sense. And you can tell she started going through their relationship together. Oh, that's why he does that. Oh, that's why that always gets tricky for us. Oh, that's why he does it that way. She's basically ninja at this point, right? Instead of feeling her hurt feelings, she moves to curiosity. And she goes, you know what? Totally. We can hold one hand instead of two. Absolutely, that'll work. The avoidant people in your life haven't chosen to be this way. They're not doing it to you. They don't know a different way. It's how they survived to this point. Robots need love too, but they don't know how to do it. All they know how to do is, when I get overwhelmed, I'm going to sit in the corner and soothe myself. If you love somebody who's avoidant, there's a few things you absolutely need to know to love them well. The first one is realize they are not doing this to you. Please, if at all possible, do not take this personally. They're doing the very best they can. They just don't know how to relationally soothe. Second, they will need more space than you think they do. Pay attention to how much alone time they have. A couple of months ago, I actually had to ask my wife, babe, you know I love you, yes. Can I have the house to myself like one evening every week or two? Can you just go hang out with your friends or something? I needed some time by myself to soothe myself. The conversation didn't go perfectly, but they will need more time. They will need more distance. If you're trying to have really close face-to-face contact with them, you want to get right in their face because that feels good. I'm painting with a big brush here, but chances are it's not going to work for them, especially very face-to-face. That's why this didn't work. You can hug them, but probably my brother's a hugger. He wants to get all up in people's business. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, get off me. Stop hugs way earlier than you think. In fact, this is your goal. Stop the hug before they want the hug stopped. It might look like this. That tells you, I see you, I care about you, and I know this is what you need. If you're in a relationship with someone and there's a lot going on, I get it. It's tricky. If you have a nervous system like the one Jeff's going to talk about next week, even trickier. But fundamentally, they will need this. Third thing, when they ask you for something, please, if at all possible, be ninja level and say something like, hey, I so appreciate you asking for that. That means the world that you would trust me with that. And let's do everything we can to get as much of that as you can, okay? Let's start there. And then you can engage in we behavior and say, hey, let's have a conversation. Honor that this is the hardest thing they're going to do. And handle it beautifully. That will show them you actually could love me in a way that I need to be loved. Probably half an hour later, I was with a couple, we were finishing off the last few things. He's like, stop. It's like, what's going on, buddy? Let's go back to that valve part. It's like, oh, okay. Expecting him to do one of these. He's like, no. I'm holding both her hands. And I'm looking into those big blue eyes, and I'm going to tell her how much I love her. It was almost like, damn it. You see, he realized the thing that we all need to realize. It's just an attachment system. It's just the way we coped with it. It's not a prison. We don't have to act this way. Pulls up his pants. I remember their wedding day. He was right there eye to eye, and he told her how much he loved her in front of all the people they cared about. We were all frickin' bawling our eyes out. Your coping strategy is not a prison. Don't ignore it. It's not one of those things where you go, no, the avoidant attachment voice in the back of my head, don't be like, screw you, get out of here, you're broken, there's nothing wrong, I'm going to ignore you. No. That's not how we handle these things. We listen. We just don't let it drive our car. We need to be by ourselves. Yeah, actually, I haven't had a bunch of time by myself. Maybe I will say, okay, hey, I was going to go spend an evening by myself. I'm actually going on a trip with a bunch of buddies. We're kind of slumming it across the States to go to Utah to go dirt biking. I'm living in a trailer with another human being for 12 days straight. I'm already planning every day. Let's see what I can get away with. I will have some quality Vince time where I'll be like, you stay there. I'm going to take my motorcycle and drive as far away as I can and then just stop and sit for a couple hours. Because I need that. If that voice is freaking out, ask yourself, how's your self-care routine? Are you asking for time by yourself? Do you feel guilty about that? Please don't. You need it. For those of you who love people who have avoidant attachment, please, they are not doing this to you. We're just trying to deal with our life. And sometimes life feels so suck me dry, vampiric. The only thing we can do is be by ourselves to calm down. Please don't guilt us. Please don't shame us. But still love us. We will fight you on it, yes. We won't let you give us stuff easily, yes, but it matters. It really, really matters. May we be a community who honors our attachments and the complex relationships we have with them. May we be a community who love those who have avoidant attachment well, skillfully, realizing they're not doing this to us. They're just trying to deal with their life. And may we screw with their inner narrative and realize people love them. We love you. Amen. Have a great week, everyone. Jeff's going to talk about the other side of this thing next week. Take care.